Today I'm going to showcase all the Tyranids that I've painted since my How to Paint Vaporwave Tyranids video, released nearly 3 years ago. Wow, that's kind of mind-blowing. I'm not going to give you a full tutorial, but I will show you some of the techniques I've used whilst painting these models. But first, let's just bask in their glory for a moment. So, you might be thinking, what's going on? Where am I? Well, let's do a sidebar for a second, and I'll show you how I built up the colours on my Screamer Killer. I love all the Green Stuff World fluorescent pigments, and they've been a staple in this army. A technique that I like to use is wet blending the pigments on the model. Imagine the model as watercolour paper. Wet it and then blend the pigments on your brush onto the model. I like the soft ombre you can achieve like this. I like to add a small amount of Liquitex acrylic medium to my water so the pigments stay in place. Otherwise, you'll have to spray a sealant before working on top of them. Shout out to my army painter Toxic Mist. I think I've managed to find a place for this colour in every colour scheme I've painted. The most fun part of painting Tyranids for me is making the patterns on their carapaces. Sometimes I do dots and sometimes lines, but usually always on the edge of the segments. I blended the colour of the lines in a little by dry brushing the same colour around the edges. And if you're interested about how I made the bases for these Tyranids, I have a whole separate video, which I'll link in the description, on how to make your own. These rocks are made from air drying foam clay. And this is how he turned out. Here's another way to use your pigments. I just sloppily brushed on this magenta pigment with water and a bit of acrylic medium over my Zenith highlighted Psychophage. And then, while it's still wet, just roughly rub it with some kitchen towel to take it off the edges. Then I dry brushed with some Vallejo Rosy Flesh. It's always a good idea to use a contrasting colour for a wash on the underbelly. In this instance, I used some Liquitex blue ink and just dribbled it right on there. And here's the end result. You might be thinking, but this is a totally different colour to the Screamer Killer. How is that part of the same army? Well, the joy of painting monsters, rather than armoured guys, is that they can all be different colours and still have the same vibe. I'm using the same techniques and similar colour palette, but diversifying the units within that range. Predominantly, the colours of the army are pink, purple and blue, but within that, I range all the way from pale turquoise to royal blue, and from salmon pink to magenta. And I think it works. Some shells have stripes, some have spots, but they all belong in the same violent, gooey, hostile world. I've even thrown in a non-Games Workshop model here, a proxy for a flying hive tyrant. It's a xenomorph dragon from Dungeons and Lasers. I highly recommend these models. I'm always impressed with their sculpts, and I'm sure I'll be getting more of them in the future. Tervigon, mother of all termagants. I had to put her egg sac on display. It's a statement piece. It's supposed to go on the belly, but don't we all want to see it in its true glory? And the Toxicrene, my little homage to Tentacruel. Well, I hope this gave you some inspiration for your own colour scheme. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this psychedelic mess. Give me a like if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more painting content. And there's one more thing you do. If you want to support the channel even more than liking and sharing with your friends, I've set up a Buy Me a Coffee account. If you want to buy me a coffee or a mojito or a Hierophant, you can follow the link in the description. I'll leave you with one final look at these bad boys. Until next time, see ya!